Good afternoon. I am Janelle Hills, the Director of Workforce Programs with Interstate Renewable Energy Council. We also have Ms. Cynthia Finley, the Vice President of Workforce Innovation and Strategy with IRAC. We partner with NCWE in this effort, so along with the IRAC team, we have Dr. Darlene Miller, Dr. Debro, and even Minglecock. We also have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Rich Brown with Bank of America, who has supported us in this effort to do this great work. We're here today to learn about the outcomes of the First Year Alliance published in the recent report, Cultivating a Diverse and Skilled Talent Pipeline for Equitable Transition. Next slide, please. This is just a reminder of who we are and what the now 1-year-old Alliance is and does. We met for the first time in January of 2022 with more than 500 organizations and governmental agencies actively participating in this work. We're excited to share the outcomes of our first year with you, but first we want to pause and thank Bank of America. They were some of the first to share the vision of the Alliance, united to support local communities, cultivating the new generation of clean energy heroes. Mr. Rich Brown will say a few words. Next slide, please. Mr. Rich Brown, if you're here, the floor is yours. Michelle, if you can confirm if Rich is here.
I don't see him in the list.
Okay, we'll circle back around.
Perfect.
We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So we want to know who's here. For those of you who have joined previous convenings, you know we like to see who's here. So drop your name and organization in the chat. And thank you for attending. Next slide, please. Continue to drop your name in the chat. Thank you so much. Our agenda for today, we have about an hour and a half of content and discussion, and we do not have any formal breaks planned. So if you need to step away, please feel free to do so. Also, feel free to put your questions and comments and resources in the chat as we go along. Today, we want to brief you on the key recommendations outlined in the report for those who have not gotten around to reading it. But in a sense, we understand we're preaching to the choir here. So we want to ensure we have time to discuss the next steps and how the recommendations can and should move the Alliance and its member organizations forward by putting the recommendations into action. Next slide, please. Please continue to drop your name and organizations in the chat.
With the goal of defining solutions, we have collectively identified and shared challenges, best practices, resources, and key information, which are included in the report. The recommendations in the report are intended to help funders, program designers, and those implementing workforce programs, which includes all of you, to focus on the resources and where we will be most impactful and most supportive of a just transition. Next slide.
So you all may be wondering, where do we get the information from? The data, the resources. To answer that question, this information comes from polls, questionnaires, literature reviews, solutions, and resources that you have shared in the meetings. Many of the sources were Alliance members, but not exclusively. All of the citations and references, the reference links are included in the report as a resource for you, including those featured as solutions during the summit. Next slide, please.
For our first recommendation, We've spoken a lot about the "it takes a village" reality of workforce development, and that we need a range of interconnected stakeholders in sustained relationships, utilizing effective processes to address the full workforce life cycle at the local and regional levels. This recommendation speaks to the intentionality and resources needed to establish these ecosystems. It calls out two specific purposes of these ecosystems: more effective use of employer time and mobilization of resources to support community-based organizations and others, removing the barriers to inclusion. It recommends the continuation of consortia like the Alliance and establishment of new consortia to coordinate these ecosystems. Like many of the sections in the report, we provide specific examples of projects and programs that illustrate this recommendation. And our next Alliance webinar in March will be about effective partnership models to help set up these workforce ecosystems. And we'll provide more information on that later. Next slide.
Recommendation number 2, conduct recruitment campaigns featuring clean energy workers as energy heroes. You've heard us talk a lot about this over the last year. No surprise here. We've discussed many times that a chief barrier to our success is the lack of awareness about these careers. The Alliance is calling for a launch of multimedia and multi-channel campaigns at the national and regional level, featuring messaging developed in collaboration with the target audiences. We know these outreach campaigns will be most effective when they include stories about real people, including diverse workers at all experience levels, so job seekers can see themselves reflected in industry, because representation matters. Effective and coordinated outreach of this kind will be critical to scale the workforce, and we will need to take a big tent approach, leaving no one behind. Next slide, please.
To support these outreach efforts, we know we have some work to do to better define, develop, and promote the various career pathways clean energy offers to entry and transitioning workers. This will include partnering with organized labor to further develop options such as registered apprenticeship pathways. We'll need to do a better job of getting high-quality career exploration resources into the hands of potential workers and those supporting and influencing them, including outreach to previously untapped audiences. We can do a better job of leveraging centralized job seeker resources already out there, such as those supported by the Department of Labor and companies like Indeed and LinkedIn. The visibility and coordination is particularly important when we're working to include those currently underrepresented in industry and everyone working in communities throughout the United States to support them. Next slide.
Recommendation number 3, deploy standardized industry-vetted curricular resources. The Alliance identified key gaps where it is critical to provide access to centralized, standardized curricular resources vetted by employers and stakeholders. This included training for energy storage, EV infrastructure, and heat pump installation, project management, and O&M. The report provides recommendations to help prioritize investments in training, including attributes of quality training to look for. The report also calls for additional investment in centralized resources and technical assistance for training providers to ensure effective training practices, because quality training is paramount. Next slide, please.
As we transition to a clean energy economy, many more existing education and professional development pathways will be needed to integrate clean energy and sustainable topics. Everything from the trades to business, engineering, and other academic programs will need to integrate new content to increase worker flexibility and prepare the future clean energy workforce. Next slide.
Key recommendation number 7. A critical element of this just transition is ensuring the available jobs are high quality, providing family-sustaining salaries and benefits are inclusive of safe and supportive work environments. Beyond salary and benefits, company culture is important to retaining workers. Changes are needed to support new and diverse workers. Focusing on job quality benefits both the employer and the worker, who will experience improved work outcomes as a result of better qualified and higher performing staff. Federal policy such as IRA, and the state and local policies that mandate fair labor practices for clean energy development are important drivers of job quality. Where mandates do not come into play, there are other key strategies to support employers who understand the benefits of positioning themselves as preferred employers in a competitive marketplace. The report recommends better connectivity and synergy between clean energy and organized labor, and also resources and technical assistance for clean energy employers who need support with recruitment and fostering a welcoming environment. Next slide, please.
We have some high-level recommendations and some good external resources for those thinking about policy. Clean energy policy and goals should always include workforce considerations. Workforce policies for the just transition can reinforce the desired balance between labor supply and demand by including provisions for the development of local and regional workforce ecosystems. Policy provisions will vary, but should always include fair labor standards and diversity, equity, and inclusion provisions to ensure that job growth is accompanied by equity and prosperity gains. Along with this, clean energy will benefit for fully leveraging the U.S. Department of Labor's state workforce funding sources and other available workforce development resources. We had a session last month on this topic, and the recording is available on the Alliance website in case you missed it, and we'll put the link in the chat. Next slide.
Key recommendation number 10, support comprehensive clean energy workforce data collection and analysis. Finally, we know we need more comprehensive and timely data on the current labor market, as well as anticipated demand for workers by sector and region to help fit all the pieces of this puzzle together. This will help avoid the missteps of the past in which training opportunities did not align with employer needs or a sustainable career. This is definitely a pain point. Better data and tracking will help measure the effectiveness of individual programs and progress against industry goals, such as increased diversity of workers. Workforce funding needs to include provisions for long-term tracking of learners and job seekers. Next slide, please.
So now we want to know, how will you leverage these recommendations? So we have some ideas, but it does take a village. And so we want to know your thoughts. And this input is really going to help the Alliance drive future sessions and the professional development resources that we can harness to bring to you to make some of these recommendations operational. So please share with your networks so we can have access to other information and they can have access to this information. You've received a social media kit from our team. If you'd like to use that, there'll be a link in the chat. If you're a funder or a program designer, recommendations and guidance on where to allocate resources and ideas about solutions to scale can also be found there. For project implementers and those proposing projects, point to the report to support project direction. Your recommendation is backed by over 500 Alliance members, but we welcome all of your other ideas for how to operationalize these recommendations, how to get in the weeds and make some of these sustainable changes. Next slide. Further discussion, how can the Alliance support and implement recommendations and scaling of solutions? We really want, some of you are doing great work, and we want to know how to scale those solutions on a regional level. Our commitment to continuing to convene with you to share best practices and to knock down silos. We've always seen the potential for this group to foster more direct collaboration. So how does that happen? And what can this group do to move implementation forward? How else would you like to see the Alliance leveraged? And what would help you most? So what are your pain points, and how can the Alliance help make some of these goals achievable for you? Drop your comments in the chat, and next slide. To help form the productive partnerships we know that will be necessary to scale the solutions we've identified. Focusing next time on effective partnership models. It will be March 29th, our next webinar. We'll talk about partnership models to develop healthy workforce ecosystems, and you can register in the link in the chat today for that session. But your comments here today will also help drive some of the questions and answers on that panel. So please drop your thoughts in the chat.
Yeah, let me
Next
say
slide.
just a few more things about this before we go on. So I will be moderating the March 29th event, and we have really worked hard to put together for you tools and resources and a vision of how do you build those regional partnerships so that we can take this to scale, because we need to, of course, given the science-based targets for stabilizing climate and doing this clean energy transition. This partnership event on March 29th will give you examples of those who are doing it well, but also how can you very practically put together those partnerships on a more regional basis. The clean energy companies are just too busy. They cannot go to the Community Colleges Advisory Committee, this Community-Based Organizations Advisory Committee, the Environmental Justice Groups Advisory Committee, and many others, the Governmental Sustainability Office Advisory Committee. That's not going to work. And so we're here really to serve the clean energy companies and make sure that they can implement enough systems so that we can take that last chance that we have to stabilize climate and prevent the worst impacts of climate change. So I really hope that you will join us and bring others who are potential partners for you to this March 29th event so that we can help make it easier for all of us to get this work done. So you see in the chat now the registration for the next webinar and also the download for the full recommendations report that you've been hearing about. Okay, back to you, Cynthia. I think we're ready for the next slide too.
Yep, we can go to the next slide, please.
Before we talk about the opt-in form, I want to circle back to Mr. Rich Brown, if he is on the line, to have words in his fashion. So, Rich, are you here? Doesn't sound like he made the call, but we would.
Wait. Here he is.
I think I hear him. Perfect. Yes.
Well, I really don't even want to interrupt the flow of the meeting, but I just, for some reason, my computer froze up right before the session started. Have not had that happen much before, but I just real quickly, I wanted to just quickly explain why Bank of America has been invested in the alliance. And I get that question a lot. Why is the bank involved in this alliance? And just a couple quick things. Number one, we have made a public commitment to the clean energy transition. We have committed $1 trillion, trillion with the T, over the next 10 years, lending and investing to accelerate this great energy transition. And so we are invested in this as a financial institution. And we see actually, quite honestly, great business opportunity as in that role as a financier of the clean energy transition. The other piece, as we've been talking about already, is really the opportunity to democratize clean energy and diversify the clean energy workforce. And so it's really exciting that as we see these increased efforts to bring clean energy to low and moderate communities, communities of color, that we can invest in the residents and community members of those areas so that they can help bring the clean energy transition to their communities. That's all about economic mobility and racial equality, and those are at the heart of so much of what Bank of America is focused on. And that's the other reason we're really excited about the Alliance and all the work that you're doing. So again, my apologies for interrupting the flow of the meeting. Sorry I wasn't there at the top when I could have and should have been, but thanks, and continue on with the program. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and thank you for your support in this great work. We look forward to working with you on a continuous basis to make sure the objectives of Bank of America are reached and those of the Alliance, the goals of the Alliance are reached as well. No worries about interrupting the flow because this is it. We want to keep in touch with you. Complete the opt-in form. The link should be in the chat. If you have not already done so, we will send the list of all of the organizations who have opted in to share their email addresses along with the information from the chat. So please continue to tune in into the National Clean Energy Workforce Alliance. And Deb or Cindy, if you do not have anything else.
I have two other things I need to talk about. Yes.
Okay, well, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. So I know that many of you are interested in working with the unions, but that you don't necessarily have a good contact. So we listened to you and we went and reached out to the UA, right? United Association. These are pipe fitters, plumbers, HVAC contractors, and others. And so they have a great interest in working with community colleges, with nonprofits, with other training organizations. And we just got off a delightful conversation with them, and it wasn't the first one today. So we have created a form where you can sign up and say, as an organization, I'm interested in connecting with the union local. Because what happens with the UA is that it's the locals who decide how they're going to work with the local organizations. So the national organization said, if you can collect those names of the groups and people who are interested in connecting to the union locals, she said to us today, I will follow up with each one. So you let me know if she doesn't follow up, but the first thing you have to do is to fill in this form. The second thing I wanted to announce today is that a number of groups are interested in thanking the policymakers, the regulators, the advocates who helped pass the Inflation Reduction Act and the parts of the infrastructure bill that have to do with climate. And so they need success stories from you of how is this turning into jobs, particularly the jobs for diverse populations and disadvantaged communities. So I know we've announced this once before. I only got 4 inputs into that form, and I need more to be able to share with these groups. So we are putting into the chat now, and there it is. Please share your clean energy job and workforce success stories. Also, if you happen to have anything in there about great partnerships that you put together, I'll go through these. We'd love to see those, because maybe that's something we want to highlight next month, of course, when we have the Partnership Models Alliance meeting.
This is a good point to wrap up and comb through the chat, as Cindy indicated earlier. We have a lot of great information, a lot of great suggestions, a lot of great topics, a lot of great work to continue to roll out with the Alliance. So we appreciate your time, your effort, your attendance. You can go to the next slide, Michelle. We thank you for participating. Please do not forget to opt in so that you can receive all of the great information that we will distribute for the Alliance. If you have missed something or you want to go back and review information, please go to IREC's website to the National Clean Energy Workforce Alliance page, and you will find a host of information there. Evie has dropped the opt-in form into the chat again. Thank you, Evie. You're awesome. And we are continuing this work. We'll have information out soon about the webinar Deb will be leading next month for the March meeting that's going to be on partnerships. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to continued partnership and collaboration.
Thanks, everybody. Keep up the good work. We're here to serve you.